If you're a Canadian heading into retirement, chances are your RSP is one of your biggest financial assets. But here's the problem. No one tells you how to get that money out without losing a massive chunk to taxes and to the government. And make no mistake, the tax hit can be brutal. I'm talking 30, 40, sometimes even more than 50% of your RSP disappearing overnight. And if you pass away without a spouse or an eligible dependent, the government can tax your entire RSP in one fell swoop. That could mean hundreds of thousands of dollars just gone. But it doesn't have to be that way. With the right plan and a little bit of strategy, you can melt down your RSP in a way that's efficient, it's controlled, and it's CRA compliant. My name is Rob Tétrault, Senior Portfolio Manager at the Tétrault Wealth Advisors. And in today's video, I'm gonna walk you through 3 powerful RSP meltdown strategies that we use with our clients all across Canada so you can keep more of your hard-earned savings and pay less tax to the taxman. Before we dive into the RSP meltdown strategies, there's one thing you absolutely need to understand first, and that's how tax brackets actually work in Canada. Because once you get this, everything else will make way more sense, I promise you. So in Canada, we use something called a progressive tax system or a marginal tax system. That means the more money you make, the more tax you pay. But it's not all at once, and it's not on everything. Let me show you what I mean. And let's use Alberta as an example. So this example will highlight a combined federal and provincial tax bracket scenario in 2025. So in 2025, your first $16,129 of income, if you're in Alberta, is taxed at 0%. It's tax-free. Then from $16,130 up to $22,323, that's taxed at 15%. Then from $22,300 to $57,400 is taxed at 25%. $57,000 to $114,000, that chunk is taxed at 30.5%. And above that, 36%, and beyond that, the rates keep climbing. But here's the part that trips people up. Just because you move into a new tax bracket, it doesn't mean your entire income gets taxed at that new rate. Let's say you make $60,000 this year. You're in the 30.5% bracket now, but only the last portion of your income gets taxed at 30.5%. The rest is still taxed at an average tax rate of 16.9%. So only $2,600 are getting taxed at 30.5%. And that's what makes our system here in Canada a progressive or marginal system. Your effective tax rate is a blend of all of the tax rates you pass through. So why is this so important when it comes to your RSP? Well, because when you withdraw money from your RSP, whether it's $5,000 or $50,000, it gets added on top of all your other income for that year. So if you're already earning $50,000 from a pension or a business or rental income, and you withdraw another $10,000 from your RSP, the RSP withdrawal doesn't get taxed in isolation. It gets stacked on top of all your other income. So now the government sees you as making $60,000 and not $50,000. And guess what? Some of that RSP money could get taxed and will get taxed at a higher tax bracket just because of the stacking. And this is why timing, amount, and coordination is so important when you're drawing down your RSP. And it's also why these meltdown strategies are so powerful. Because once you understand how your income stacks up, you can start making smarter, tax-efficient decisions instead of getting hit with a surprise tax bill when it's too late. All right, the first strategy, milking low or no income years. So that first RSP meltdown strategy is one that is so simple, yet it's so often missed. You use your low income years. If you ever find yourself in a year with little or no income, say you've just retired or you sold your business or you've taken time off, that's your moment. That's your moment to shine tax-wise. In most provinces, your first $15,000 of income is completely tax-free. In Alberta's case for 2025, the basic personal amount of tax-free annual income is now $16,129. So if you have no income that year, well, you should be pulling out $16,129 from your RSP because you're going to pay 0 tax on it. So let me say that again. $16,129 withdrawn, 0 taxes owed, 100% yours to keep. And that's the key thing with your RSP. You know it's sheltering tax-free. You know it's going to compound inside the RSP tax-free. But the key is, how do we get it out without paying taxes? So if you get a freebie, if you get a year where you have no tax paid on an amount that you can withdraw, you should be taking that money out. That's a free year for you to take all these funds out and accomplish the goal of the RSP, which is melting it down by paying the least amount of taxes. And even better, the next 5,000 or 6,000 above that is only taxed at 15%, which is still extremely tax efficient. Now, yes, your advisor will withhold tax automatically when you make the withdrawal. The bank is mandated to do that, and that's standard. But when you file your tax return at the end of the year and CRA sees that your income was so low, you get a tax refund on all the tax that was withheld. So in the end, you get most or even all of it back. And if you made, let's say, $10,000 that year in rental or part-time income, you still have $6,000 of tax-free RSP room left. It's one of the easiest, cleanest ways to melt down your RSP, and all it takes is knowing when to strike. Strike in the years where you have low or no income. Strategy 2, the loan shuffle. All right, so this strategy is one of the most controversial tools in the RSP Meltdown toolkit, and for good reason. It's called the loan shuffle, and I never lead with this strategy or recommend it as a first option. It's something you should at least understand, especially if you're a more aggressive investor, especially if you're okay with adding on leverage or debt, and if you're looking for advanced planning opportunities and you have a high income. So here's how it works. Let's say you have a large RSP, $500,000 or more, maybe even $1 million or more, and you'd like to melt it down without taking a massive tax hit all at once. So you need to melt it down for some reason, let's say. So instead of just withdrawing the funds and paying full tax, this strategy would suggest a different move. You could take out a loan and you would use that capital to build a brand new non-registered investment portfolio. Then you would use the withdrawals from your RSP to cover the loan interest payments. Now, why would you do this? Well, the interest paid on the loan, if the money is used to buy income generating investments, so a portfolio of stocks and bonds and alternatives, it's tax deductible in Canada. That means it'll reduce your taxable income, all right? So it's effectively, call it half price. So if you're withdrawing $30,000 from your RSP and you're paying, let's say, $10,000 interest on your investment loan, that $10,000 could offset part of the tax bill from your RSP withdrawal. So in the right setup and with careful planning, that could create close to a tax neutral scenario where you're essentially swapping a registered investment for a non-registered one without triggering a huge tax bill. Now, here's where I hit the brakes though, because while this can be mathematically elegant, it's not for the faint of heart. First off, you're adding new debt. So that means you have to have access to leverage, either through a high income, through assets, maybe a rental property or a house that's not fully leveraged. So you're tacking on debt at a period in your life where you might not want to tack on debt. So that's big. Second, you're counting on your new investments to perform consistently over time. So if you borrow to invest, it's a double-edged sword, right? So if it starts going down while you've borrowed, your loan remains the same and now your securities are worth less. So that's not a great position to be in if you have highly volatile stocks and you're not able to withstand that volatility. Third, you're betting that interest rates won't spike again because the tax deduction, it only works if the interest stays manageable, right? If interest rates go to 8 or 10%, now you've got this loan and you're paying a ton of money on the interest, you're actually not ahead. And remember, you're investing with borrowed money. You don't get to hit pause if the market takes a dip. You're on the hook either way. That being said, I've seen people use this strategy to great effect, especially high income professionals who are in the top tax bracket, have stable cash flow, they're comfortable with leverage. But I've also seen people run into serious stress when things don't go to plan. So if you're thinking about the loan shuffle, here's what I suggest. Make sure you've maxed out other safer strategies first, like using low income years or balancing drawdowns. Understand your risk profile. The strategy magnifies both gains and losses, and stay within your risk profile. And 3, only consider it with professional planning, legal structure, and written documentation for your rationale. It's got to make sense to you and it's got to make sense on paper. Talk to your investment professional, your investment advisor, your portfolio manager about this. Go to speaktorob.com, book your no obligation consultation with us. We're glad to help you out with stuff like this. It's what we do. So yes, this strategy can work, but personally, I'd rather see you melt down your RSP in a way that's low stress, sustainable, flexible, even if it takes a little long. Strategy 3, shoving off other income. This is the most popular and frankly, the most powerful RSP meltdown strategy we use with clients. And the beauty of it is almost anyone can do it. The concept is simple. In early retirement, those first 5 to 10 years when you've stopped working, but haven't yet started government benefits, you can delay taking income from programs like CPP and OAS. Instead, you would draw more aggressively from your RSP or your RIF during those early days. Now, obviously, you have to be in a position where your income is secure enough. You're not needing this income to pay the tax bill or to pay the rent or the mortgage or, to put food on the table. But if that's the case, this can work well. Why does it work so well? Because your tax bracket in early retirement is usually much lower than it will be later on, especially if you're not yet receiving all your pensions, your rental income, or other income streams. By drawing down on your RSP when your income is, let's say, modest, you can reduce your balance before it ever becomes a tax problem. Now let's talk about what you get in return for delaying those government benefits. CPP increases by 0.7% per month after age 65. So if you do the full 5-year delay, that's 42% bump by the time you hit age 70. OAS, or Old Age Security, increases by 0.6% per month. So that gives you 36% higher benefits at age 70. So not only do you reduce your RSP size, but you're also locking in permanently higher inflation-protected pension income for the rest of your life. That's a double win. Now, this strategy does come with a few misconceptions, so let's clear them up. You do not have to spend everything you withdraw from your RSP. You do not lose flexibility. In fact, arguably, you gain more flexibility. You are not betting against your own longevity. You're smoothing your income regardless of lifespan. And here's the kicker. By shrinking your RSP earlier, you reduce the risk of OAS clawbacks, RRSP minimum withdrawal issues, and big tax bills on death. Basically, you're avoiding tax headaches for your spouse or your next generation. We use this strategy constantly in retirement income planning, and not just for wealthy clients. Anyone with a moderate to large RSP can benefit from it. And if you're thinking, well, what if I live a short life and don't make it to 85 or 90? Here's what I'd say. If you die early, your higher RSP balance is going to get taxed anyway. The entire amount gets taxed and you lose half of it. But if you don't die early and you live to 85 or 90 or beyond, you'll be thrilled that you secured higher pension income for all these years. You reduced your taxes along the way. You gave yourself a smoother ride. It's about control, flexibility, and peace of mind. And that's what a good RRSP meltdown strategy is all about. Let's take all of this theory and apply it to a real person. Meet Bill. Bill is 59 years old. He's single, he owns his home, and he's done quite well for himself. He's got a healthy RSP, a growing TFSA, and he plans to retire in 6 years at 65. But like a lot of Canadians, Bill doesn't have a clear plan for how to start taking money out of those accounts or when. So he does what most people do. He figures, I'll start CPP and OAS when I'm 65. I'll delay my RSP withdrawals as long as possible, and I'll just pull all my TFSA to top things up. But here's the problem with that plan. It seems safe on the surface, but it leaves him exposed to massive RRSP minimums and a possible tax hit down the road. So we put Bill's situation into our planning software, ran it by our wealth and estate planning team, and we ran a few different scenarios. Scenario 1, the default. CPP, OAS, you take them age 65, your TFSA gets used in the early years, RSP withdrawals are deferred. It works. Bill hits about 98% of his retirement goal. Not bad. There's no buffer though, so if inflation spikes or he lives longer than expected, things get a little tight, but overall it works. Scenario 2, the balance withdrawal. So instead of delaying the RSP, we blend it with his TFSA. We take a bit from both accounts every year, right from retirement onward. The small tweak, now Bill's tracking at 102% of his retirement income goal with an extra $59,000 left in his estate by the time he's 90. So already we've improved both his income certainty and his legacy value without increasing risk. Scenario 3, full meltdown mode, and not in a negative way. This time we go all in. We front load Bill's RSP withdrawals between age 65 and 70. We delay CPP and OAS until age 70. We lock in the maximum amount of increases, 42% for the CPP, 36% for the OAS, that he's gonna get in additional income for the rest of his life. And we minimize TFSA usage in the early years. So what happens? Bill's retirement income plan jumps to 106% fully funded. That means more incomes available every year, smoother tax experience all the way through, and by age 90, Bill still got money left. Now, yes, this strategy does mean Bill spends more of his own assets earlier, and yes, if he passes away at 68 instead of 88, he would have paid a little bit more tax upfront. But here's what matters. He's got way more guaranteed income. He reduced his exposure to future tax spikes, and he's controlled the drawdown instead of letting CRA do it for him. And that's what a well-designed RRSP meltdown does. It's not about beating the system. It's about taking charge of your income, your tax bill, and your peace of mind. All right, so let's do a quick recap. We talked about 3 smart CRA compliance strategies that can help you melt down your RRSP more efficiently and potentially save you tens of thousands of dollars in tax. Strategy 1, this is a no-brainer, but use your low income years. If you're not earning as much in any given year, that's the perfect time. It's a freebie. You pull out $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 from your RRSP. You'll pay little to no tax, and you'll start shrinking that large account before it becomes a problem. Strategy 2, the loan shuffle. It's a little complex, it's not for everyone, but in the right hands, investment loans can offset RRSP withdrawals with tax-deductible interest. It requires precision, discipline, and the right profile, but if that's you, you could benefit from this. Strategy 3, delay other income so you can draw from your RRSP early. By holding off on your CPP and your OAS until age 70, you open up a window, 5-10-year window to draw from your RRSP at low to moderate tax rates. You get higher government pensions, lower RIF minimums, and way less tax exposure later in life. And as we saw with Bill, you don't have to guess your way through this. With the right tools and advice, you can run the numbers, map out the strategy, and make decisions that are tax smart and aligned with your goals. Here's what I want you to remember. The CRA doesn't reward you for dying with a giant RRSP. There's no medal for deferring forever. And finally, taxes in retirement are optional if you plan ahead. So don't leave this to chance. Start your RRSP meltdown on your terms with a strategy that's proactive, tax efficient, and built around what matters most to you. If this video resonated with you and you've built a sizable RRSP, or maybe you're approaching retirement, you got serious questions about taxes, drawdowns, legacy planning, maybe you have a corporation or you're a professional, well, I'm going to invite you to go one step further. We've created a free retirement planning masterclass, and it's designed specifically for Canadians like you who want more than just basic advice. Inside, we go beyond the RRSPs. We cover tax-efficient drawdown strategies, CPP and OAS optimization, portfolio structure for retirement income, estate planning fundamentals, and most importantly, how to avoid the most common mistakes that cost retirees thousands of tax dollars every single year. It's completely free to register. It's packed with real examples, real numbers, real solutions we use with clients every single day. If you're serious about having a smooth, flexible, confident retirement, this masterclass is just for you. Click the link below in the description to reserve your spot now. You worked hard to build your wealth. Let's make sure you keep it working for you. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my YouTube channel if you want to see more content like this. Thanks for taking the time today, guys. I'll see you in the next video.